Hi folks, welcome to RJ Impact. Sam Bankman-Fried was in court last Thursday again and pleaded not guilty to additional charges brought against him by the Federal District Court in Manhattan. He was there on an arraignment hearing where we heard an additional 5 charges. The new accusations were of bank fraud and bribing a foreign official. So that means in addition to the original 8 charges he pled not guilty to in January, he now faces 13 charges in total. According to prosecutors, he orchestrated a vast fraud that led to the collapse of FTX, the cryptocurrency exchange, whilst misappropriating billions of dollars in customer deposits. What we know about the bribery charge he's accused of is that he paid $40 million to at least one Chinese official, and this in turn unfroze $1 billion relating to Alameda Research. This was his trading firm, owned separately by him, but it was allegedly run as a single enterprise with FTX, the crypto exchange. So the updated charge sheet said that Sam Bankman-Fried instructed at least one member of staff to pay this, i.e. the $40 million, as they put it, bribe, and this in turn allowed FTX to access the frozen Alameda accounts at the Chinese crypto exchange Huobi, or Huobi, however it's pronounced. Apparently there was at least one Chinese speaker in Alameda that helped with the language and the unfreezing of the funds, and I suspect this is where the prosecutors have got some of their information from. In case you're wondering, the case is brought under the FCPA, or the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. This is a federal law that prohibits US citizens and corporations from paying bribes to foreign officials, even if they're not in the US at the time made, and regardless of whether the payments would actually be legal or not in the country they're staying in. Mark Cohen, Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyer, said simply to this that his client was challenging the charges. "My client pleads not guilty," he said. He also said that he may contest the government's right to charge Sam Bankman-Fried for some cases. I believe that is because Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't in the US at the time of those particular alleged charges, although we've yet to find out more detail about this. We also heard that there are at least 6 million pages of documents prepared or introduced to Sam Bankman-Fried's team by the prosecution. A few is what I can say to that. 7 laptops and phones are being looked at by the prosecutors, and I get the impression they're having trouble breaking into them, and these were once owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, or perhaps still are, who knows. What else happened? Well, Sam Bankman-Fried has been testing the patience of the court, who's placed limitations on his use of the internet and communications, as well as confining him to his parents' house in Palo Alto, California. He's already escaped sanctions once when it was uncovered he'd reached out to his former lawyer, looking at face value to see if he could agree stories between themselves. He's had a host of visitors to the house where he's now under house arrest, and he'd apparently used VPN to watch a football game and has been using the encrypted messaging app Signal. So after Thursday's arraignment, he's now allowed only 2 electronic devices, a laptop with internet access, which is limited, and a phone with no internet access. And on top, he's expected to pay for a security guard who has to screen all visitors with a metal detector. And to cap it all, if he continues to push the boundaries of his confinement, the judge has indicated that he'll return him to jail. So in summary, he now faces 13 charges, which include securities fraud, bank fraud, wire fraud, campaign finance violations, bribing foreign officials, and conspiracy to commit the various frauds. So the collapse of FTX, let's have a quick recap of what we know about it all in a nutshell. What was FTX? Well, it was one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges. It enabled customers to buy and sell digital currencies for other digital currencies or traditional money. It had its own cryptocurrency known as FTT. It was based in the Bahamas and built its business by allowing customers to trade risky trading options that wouldn't be allowed in the United States. Who is Sam Bankman-Fried? Well, he's now 30 and he's the founder of FTX and a trading company called Alameda Research. He's a major donor to the Democratic Party, or he was, and he was known for espousing effective altruism. This is a charitable movement that urges adherents to give away their wealth in ways that would mathematically deliver the largest charitable return for the buck. Where did FTX troubles begin? During troubled times generally for the cryptocurrency economy last year, one of his rivals, Changpeng Zhao, who's the CEO of Binance, announced he'd be selling the FTT tokens he held. And these were used by FTX and Alameda Research as backing for various loans they had. Changpeng Zhao, or CZ, also sold his company's holding in FTX itself and announced his own worries about FTX's financial health. The collapse. Well, CZ's announcements drove down the price of FTT and created worry amongst investors and customers. Customers in particular rushed to withdraw from FTX, and the company very quickly had an $8 billion shortfall, which it couldn't plug and couldn't meet further withdrawals. Binance itself offered a last-minute loan to save the company, but pulled out, forcing FTX to file for bankruptcy on November the 11th. So why was Bankman-Fried arrested? Well, the collapse of FTX created a furore amongst which the SEC and the Department of Justice started to look at it and the $8 billion black hole in its balance sheet. Evidence that Sam Bankman-Fried had used customer funds held by FTX to prop up its own trading company Alameda Research cropped up, and the CEO of Alameda Research, Caroline Ellison, pled not guilty on a number of fraud charges and was offered a deal for no jail time on those charges in exchange for assisting prosecutors in their case against Sam Bankman-Fried. On the 12th of December, Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas by the Bahamian police for lying to investors and committing fraud there, and subsequently voluntarily returned to the US, where he was also arrested under the initial charges by the Department of Justice. They've been investigating ever since, leading up to these latest charges which he faced in court last Thursday. The trial for Bankman-Fried itself is currently scheduled for October this year. And that's it, a quick update and a quick recap. If this has been useful or informative to you, then please consider subscribing and I'll keep producing the updates. Bye for now.